misunderstand. Give instructions that are impossible to misunderstand, and that's hard. We as teachers or instructors in this case, we owe it to the learner to speak with absolute clarity so that they cannot misunderstand what we're saying. That means by when also. Even Dr. Alex Seigel said, we can only begin to communicate once we have clarified our terms. Terms. So I'm going to go forward, okay? We agreed that this line is positioned vertically, right? All right, so line has a language unto itself. How many of you know the 7-term language of line? You do not have to use these terms, but I do want to point out, Jim Harris, that everything we do in the industry related to line is nautical in origin. We rigged ships for centuries before we ever rigged trees. That'll be $5. It's true. Grubby old pirates that were mean as hell that would run you through. Some of those cats had stubs left for fingers, and they could make beautiful, intricate macrame lace out of them. They could make function, they could make and create knots that were fit for purpose that we use on a daily basis out here. How many of you can tie a bowline? Show of hands. Okay. So, how many of you know, so just to prove how nautical many of the knots are, a long time ago, I rowed my boat over to Augie's house. And when I got ashore, when I pulled up to the dock, I jumped out and I went and had dinner with my best friend Augie. Did? When I was done, I went back to my boat, but my boat was gone. So if I had put a rope on the bow, where's the bow of a boat?
The front.
It is going to be the front. This is a non-relative term, isn't it? It is. It's a static term. We always reference the bow as the front, right? Okay, so dig this. If I just had a rope on the bow, that might not have happened, right? So I needed a line up there, and then to tie it to the dock. We agree? So I needed a bow line. You're welcome. That's where the term bowline originated. You needed a bow line. In the case of the bowline, we all agree that a bowline is an end line fixed loop. It's a loop. It's fixed. It's at the end of the line. In its lowest common denominator, it's an end line fixed loop. It has many variations that many of us know. Yosemite finish. You guys know Yosemite finish. It's a beautiful, lovely, elegant knot. It's been in use for 2,400 years before Christ was born. People could tie a bowline. Get your head around that. We've been handling line for so long that it's literally written in our DNA. Get your head around that. We mastered a couple knots, most likely before we could ever keep fire going, before we could build fire. Now the first fires were probably built after a lightning strike or a heat event or something like that. And people could keep it going, but they might not have been able to manufacture it. So if you ever heard the term the keeper of the flame, that term is derived from people that were tasked with keeping the flame going. They would do it in cycles. Because initially, early man did not know how to make fire, but we knew how to keep it going. Shum shum? When I say shum shum, it means, do you see what I'm saying? You guys are supposed to repeat the order back to me. Shum shum? Shum shum! Louder! Shum shum! Okay. So check this out. You guys want to have some fun?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Who can tie a bowline? One person that's expert level bowling, and a volunteer. Step up to the mic. Okay, cool. Now, if I can get one volunteer that cannot tie a bowline, all right? Only if you're comfortable, come forward. I do not mean to call out or embarrass or clown anybody. Someone that cannot tie a bowline. So the dog shows up. Any takers? You sure? Okay. Corbin!
Oh, this will be cool.
Corbin!
Trouble?
Hey man, do you want to do an experiment with us? Okay, you can tie your shoes. If you didn't have the Velcro, you try So dig this. If you didn't tie your shoes correctly and you tripped over the laces and you fell on your face, that's one thing, okay? You can stand back up. Trip over your shoelaces and fall with a running chainsaw in your hands, and you have problems now. Okay, we agree? That's another level of hazard. We agree? So dig this, man. So when you tie your shoes, when we tie our shoes, it's a pretty important function. It is. So what we're going to do is, I forgot your name. Dwight. Dwight is going to teach you how to tie a knot with this line right here. So this is going to be yours. All right? And this is going to be yours. Okay? Now, Dwight, I want
Can you take over? I got to go with the other camera.
How to tie a bowler. Oh, no, wait a second. Before we get started, please stand up, Dwight. Step over here. Now turn around and face that way. Corbin, you face the tree. Okay, go ahead.
So you're gonna take the rope and flip
Corbin.
a loop. You gotta face that way, homie. So flip a loop towards the top of the rope. Just flip a loop upwards, so you have the top part of the rope. You have a loop, a bite. You are putting me on the spot, chicken. We're at in the road. Come up through the bottoms, go around the tree, and go back through that loop that you made. Then hold on to both of those on the bottom and pull up.
Almost.
The top part of the road. So if you have the part that's going up on your rope, that's standing in.
That's cool figure eight.
You're doing great, Corbin.
Go loop. Upward like this.
You're doing good, kid.
You gotta raise your voice louder, I think.
Come up through the bottom. Go around that top part. And then back down through the hole. And I did it wrong. Keep it in front of it. Up through. Around. And back down.
That's so close.
Roll both of these.
You almost got it.
You can face them now, Dwight.
Okay.
Okay. So flip a loop into it. Go like this. This is my tree standing in. Come up through the bottom, around, and back down. You're gonna hold both of these. Pull it up. See how this is on top? Take this, go around this part. Come up through here, around this part, and back down through there. Hold on to both of these. Pull it tight. Right, up so this part's on top. Come up through the bottom. Let's around this part. Pull yourself up with it. Around this part. And go through that same hole. Okay, now both of those. Pull this little bit, this tail down just a little bit more so you can have that big loop there. And pull that tight.
There you go.
All right. Okay. Big round of applause. Corbin, here, I have some. You probably have a million.
Now do it 10 more times.
You don't have to have it. Okay. So dig this. Yeah, nice work.
Thanks, Corbin.
So dig this. That is the equivalent to what we're asking a ground person to do when we go up in the air and we didn't adequately train them how to perform
That is
some
a lot
simple
harder
functions.
than I really thought, because it's different when you're on the ground too. Because when I'm tying it up in the tree, I'm going around and standing into the, like
You're doing
Yeah,
a
you
running
have points
ball.
of reference.
I'm doing a running
You have
ball
points
now.
of reference that you
Right.
just don't have. And if your ground support specialists don't have those points of reference, then we might have failed them. You did a couple things that really were awesome. The first thing you did, even before I had you turn your back, you got down to his level. You leveled with him. You took a knee for him. So huge cool points for doing that. You leveled with the child. And, you know, when we're up in the air, we are speaking down to somebody. It's not to insult them, but that in itself can be a communication barrier, or it can be a turnoff for the learner sometimes, not always. Some demographics, very, very sensitive to facials, volume, and tone. Some people feel very easily scolded, and that's not the idea here. We always get better results from people when they feel respected. Are you chipping when I'm cutting?
Yes, sir.
Line does have a language. Oh, there was another thing that you did. You got down to his level and you stood next. You got next to him, not across from him, because across we are somewhat in translation. Yeah. We're in translation. Yeah. You're working. You know, again, we're just adding perspective. You know, that's all. Line does have a language, and this class isn't about line or not tying. It's not. It's about how we communicate and how we might be able to. If you pick up one tip that helps you enhance your communication, then blam, it's worth the CEUs.
Yeah.
So there's a CEU sign-up sheet. Can I put somebody up on doing that? Can you get someone to pass it around? Can we do that right now?
I'm on it.
Okay, great. You'll notice how I said right now? That's the when part. Always get a when. So check it out. All line has a language. It only has 7 terms to it, and they're all nautical in origin. Because again, we rigged ships for centuries before we ever rigged trees. We did. So if I pick up this end, and I'm either going to make a knot or perform a task with it, such as create like a sheet bend, then what end is this? It is the working end. The opposite end is known as the what?
Standing. Bitter.
I hear standing. I hear
Bitter.
bitter. It is the bitter end. It is the bitter end. Pirates used to say to express their loyalty to one another, "I got you boys to the bitter end." It's true. So the term bitter end has been used in poetry and songs for centuries. Many of the terms, again, date back thousands of years, like our bowline. More the not than the term. But Shum? You guys are good sports about this, okay? So what end of the line is this if I pick it up and I'm going to perform a task? Okay, so where's the bitter end?
Both sides now.
Oh, I'm sorry?
Both of them now. The non-working.
It's actually just line on deck. I don't have a point of reference at all, do I?
Nope.
So there is no working end. There is no bitter end. Unless we have like a rope bag. Now in the case of a rope bag, the working end is going to be where? The bitter end is going to be where? At least we have points of reference. Line is a liquid, not a solid. Get your head around that one too, bruh. It's true. On a molecular level, line is not a solid, it's a liquid. We pour the bucket of rope out. We do. And what's our body comprised of? We're mostly liquid. So if you relax and you're not tying, and if you think more in terms of liquid on liquid, the two elements are more closely matched, and it will add fluidity to your knot tying. But again, this isn't about knot tying, isn't it? Listen. What end of the line is this?
Working.
What end of the line is at the other end?
Bitter.
Yeah, so we're up to 2 terms of a 7-term language. What's so funny?
You're hilarious. It's really entertaining and informative at the same time. Keep going.
Put $5 in that disc right there. Okay. So we do know that this is the working end. I'm either going to make a knot or perform a task with this. Chum? Okay, so if I was the learner, I wanted to tie this line to this line. I'm going to do it and pass it up. There's a reason I don't do it like this, because I'm not working in my core. There's a reason I don't tie this to the bitter end, because I don't want the climber to have to yard up 200 feet of line to come to a sheet bend. But if I didn't give them clear instructions, that's what I'm asking to be done. That's what I'm asking for, man. I didn't clarify the action at all. I just told them to tie that rope on. They need more instructions than that. I needed more instructions than that. So dig this. What is this? A loop. I do we call it a loop. So from my perspective, this is what we would call a loop dressed right. But that's only from my perspective. Come on? So what is it from there?
That's not a loop, that's a lap.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. So immediately you can see where I start to lose communication, and all I've really done is I've asked a ground person to create a loop. So this is a loop dressed right, but it is a point of reference. So if you knew, well, we have to agree on our terms first. So if I asked you to form a loop dressed right,
Oh, is that translated?
Dressed right.
look who just decided to join the party.
Oh,
No, I'm just cracking the joke, bro. Okay, so we agree that you are holding it in your left hand in like something of a taco grip, right? Again, it's just a point of reference. Everybody go like this. Big taco grip. It's just a grip. But if you didn't know what it was and you grabbed it with your thumb and forefinger from the inside or something like that, you might make the loop dressed right unavailable. What if you held it like this? It's not really available when you have to route around your wrist. But you very wisely held it on the outside. All right? All I'm saying is that if you think about how difficult knot tying is, it's difficult to do, it's difficult to teach. And without some vocabulary or points of reference, it's a setup for failure from the beginning. And it takes lots of practice and rehearsal. I'll go back over the rest of these terms. Now, if you can turn it towards me 90 degrees so that the loop is parallel to the deck. So we have to agree on what the deck is first, don't we? So bring it closer to your core. You're welcome to step forward. Okay, so now here's what we're going to do. Don't start getting ahead of the class, I'll bust your ass. Okay, spill it. We don't take knots out and spill it because, again, line's a liquid, right? So go like this, just hold with your left like this, and then turn your right hand upside down as you attack, and then turn it like this and form a loop dressed right. Yes, and then hold it in your taco grip. I'll ask you to add one more element. Just turn it sideways so that it is parallel with the deck, all right? Now, spill it and put your hands behind your back. Each one of those is one cycle. So how do we eat the elephant?
One bite at a time.
One bite at a time. So we're just going to start with the loop. So just go like this. Except, okay, hold on. When you do this, go like this, like you are turning a truck on. But it's no fun unless you make the noise, bro. Louder!
Okay.
So go like this and tie it just above your left forefinger. Just above by maybe 1 inch. Sharp twist, like you're turning the truck on. All right, and then start it in your core a little bit lower, like this. Now just make loops. Go like this. And put your hands behind your back in between each cycle. Every time we load and unload a system, that is one cycle. We agree? SRS is beautiful because you can run to the top of the line on one cycle. When you sit back in it, that's one completed cycle. So just make loops, like it. Step a little closer. I gotta do some housekeeping. Keep making loops. I'm gonna give you the day off. Hold this in your right hand. Keep making loops. Keep making loops. Okay. I'm looking. I'll ask that. Just make it. It doesn't have to be too big. The loop only needs to be big enough for the line to pass through it. How many times?
Twice.
Yes, twice. So make nice, small, elegant, beautiful little loops. Don't load your eyebrows. Don't load up your toenails. They're not helping you. Don't clench your jaw. Remember, our body is what? And rope is? It is. Sorry, not sorry. It is a liquid. So just make beautiful, elegant, little, efficient loops. I'll ask that we finish it parallel to the deck.
Do what you're doing is faster
Stop.
and better.
Now, okay, I'll have you form a loop dressed right now. Now hold that parallel to the deck, okay? Now, route the working end of the rigging line I want you to send up through your loop dressed right, then take one turn counterclockwise around this part. But what's that part? It's the stand. And what is below? It's the fall. We often call it the tail. It's not the tail. It's not the tail. What falls out from below your climbing system is not the tail. Sorry, I'm just going to challenge that one right now. It's the fall. The reason we differentiate between the tail, the tail can mean two things. It can mean the ball, and it can also mean the bitter end. And we're trying to set people up to succeed and win. So I'll just ask, and you don't have to adopt it because Kristian Michael Schultz said so. Life doesn't work like that, okay? But I'll ask that from going forward, if you reference the falling part of your climbing line as the fall, you can clear up potential communication gaps because you can differentiate between the bitter end of your climbing line and a bite of the fall. We're going to get into this. So now, route the working end of the rigging line down through the loop dressed right. Marry the two blue and white lines in your right hand. Let go with your left and pull up on the stand. Yes, yes. But if you didn't know what the stand was, I failed you.
I did.
Because we have to clarify our terms. Line only has 7 terms to it. The language of line only has 7 terms. But if you don't embrace them and if we can't agree on our terms, we're not speaking the same language at all. We're not. So, spill it. Spill that pile of shit. All right. Are you with me?
I'm with you.
What's your name? Joseph. Joseph. Okay. So form a loop just right. And then, here's your working end. Sorry, I didn't clarify. That's not your fault. It's mine.
You just spill it.
Okay, so make a tiny little loop like this. Tiny little loop. Working end comes up and out. Whip it around, counterclockwise around the stand, then back down inside. Is this how you form a sheep bend?
It's not how I usually do. But
Yeah, well, you're going to owe me a beer.
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
All right. So now spill it. It spills in 2 moves. 1, 2. Now come to the working end like this. What happens if you go like this? Hacha! Nice. Very nice.
Wait a minute, do that again. Oh, you're already there. I like that.
Yes.
That's
So
sexy.
I actually include the working end of the rigging
Yeah,
line
that's sexy.
into the loop simultaneously.
Yeah, that's
But
sexy.
the working end must come through these 2 legs of line towards me and then off to what we're going to call my 1 o'clock position. From there, I can reach around if you want, Joseph, however you want.
Definitely wants that.
Sometimes we'll go over this, and I'll just go like this, and people are like, that's some sorcery!
Yeah, when I was trying to do a bowling, like there was a lot of frustration and stuff, and it wasn't until someone showed me this that I was able to just do it. And actually, it took me some time to really get around in my head that to do it this way. Doing it this way was harder for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a combination of things going on, you know what I mean? I didn't ask you how you best learn. I didn't ask you if you're right-handed or left-handed. I didn't ask if you spoke English. I did not clarify with you at all. It was a setup for failure from the beginning on some levels, okay? Now, if we were serving ice cream cones, this wouldn't be a big deal, but we're not serving ice cream cones. We're in life support every single day, are we not?
Yes.
So I think some training and education is every day, and it must be ongoing, right, Bundy?
Right.
It must be ongoing. You practiced and put some skin in the game and put dedication into learning to speed tie a sheep bend and translated that into your bowling, right?
Yes.
So that's probably how you do it. So your teachers, I mean, what if we could expedite that? What if we could reduce the amount of time it takes to teach and learn?
That would be good.
Yeah, it would. You know, it can trim time off of training. Training takes a long time. Not everybody learns the same. We have to celebrate the differences and understand. And it doesn't take long to get to know your learner very long. Something I failed to do for a long time before somebody finally told me, Kristian, your climbing sucks. And you're not that good of a teacher. I was like, oh, what? I'm Kristian Michael Schultz. It would be true. But it's true, and I really needed to clarify my actions. So we're going to finish this up, okay? This was not about knot tying. It's just a language into itself, and it can become the source of great frustration. Knot tying is very rewarding. How many of you find it very rewarding? We live in a very knot and rope dependent world. So knots are a language. I noticed that Dwight, he tied a bowline, but his finished to the outside of the bowline. Okay? It finished to the outside. Is it wrong?
Yep.
Is it wrong? On what basis is it wrong?
Pull out.
Because the other way, it pulls them together. This way, it pulls them apart.
Okay, but dig this, all right? This is a variation of the bowline called the Cowboy Bowline, and before it was ever called a Cowboy Bowline, pirates used to argue over how a bowline should actually finish to the point where they were fist fighting. And this goes back hundreds of years. It does. People have been having this argument for centuries. It is a variation. I don't feel it's wrong. It does reveal limitations, but it's not. I don't feel it's wrong.
I don't ever tie it on the end of the. The only time I use one, I'm tying on branches, and I'm tying around the end of the rope, and I put it on the inside every time. So that is, I'm like, you put it on this way.
The fist
I
fight's
get what you're
next.
saying, okay, so does it finish? But your running bowline is
Yeah,
running
for
bowline is a
years
variation.
I
do you
did it
agree?
like that, and I've never had it come out. And then I had somebody like, no, you're supposed to do it like that, and I like researched a little bit, and they were right. So it's like I started doing it that way. And
Okay, but I got to insist what you were doing was not incorrect. It was simply a variation of the bowline that finishes to the outside. Some people call it a cowboy bowline. It's not wrong. It'll function similar, but it'll also reveal limitations.
Sure.
It's a mathematical impossibility to get a Yosemite finish out of a bowline, out of a cowboy bowline. How many of you, show of hands, can tie a Yosemite finish or a bowline with Yosemite finish? Pretty popular gig, isn't it? Unreal. The shot hurled around the world. We'll get back to that. It's a mathematical impossibility to get a Yosemite finish from a cowboy bowline. It's not good, it's not bad, it's not right, it's not wrong. It just reveals limitations like all of our knots. Go ahead and take your seat, man. I super appreciate you coming. But
He doesn't get one of those scarves?
Yeah, don't I get one of those scars?
Thanks. See, we're watching out for you.
Yeah, man.
I didn't even play politics.
Yeah, I need to keep.
now, would you like
I need to keep my hair on my friction hair somehow.
Okay, so Dick, you have your choice. You get a nice buff, or would you like a pair of blue lens Clearys, or maybe a wedgie? Your choice.
I'm gonna get the clears because I didn't bring any eye gear today. Yeah.
Awesome. So that worked out nicely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even though, it's gonna be good.
So this wasn't supposed to be so much about knot tying. Let's get a time check. Can I rely on somebody to keep me on task?
Your own task. Good. Just about another 15 minutes.
Where?
I've got 15 minutes left.
Yes.
Okay, great. Is everybody okay? Do you guys need a break?
Oh, excuse me.
If you need,
45 minutes.
okay, that works out better. Okay, I don't want to hold anybody hostage. You guys need a break to use the. Do you guys need a bio break or to get some water or to stand up? Everybody stand up. Everybody reach up. You're all under arrest. Now big reach down. Open up your spine and open up your mind. Come back up slowly. Oh, a couple of neck rolls. Counterclockwise. And then a couple clockwise. Remember, this is relative, isn't it? You have to keep perspective. Now turn to the person to your left and say, I'm so glad you're here, man.
I'm so glad. Yeah, I'm so glad you're
Turn to
here,
the
man.
person on your right. Say, I got you covered, man. So, just like Schultz, I took a few notes because my memory's not all that great. That's what happens when you get to be Dwight's age. Little age discrimination going on there. You're welcome. Okay. Okay, so dig this. We're up to, just to wrap up my terms for line handling, okay? What is this? Loop. It is a loop. Now, to me, from my perspective, it's a loop dressed right, but it's different from yours, isn't it? Okay? It's fair and square. So what is above? The stand. Everybody say the stand. The stand. What is below? The ball. The ball. What is this?
A bite.
It is. It's a bite. In this case, it's a bite dressed right. And I'm holding it not in my taco grip. We're going to call this my handlebar grip. Is everybody okay with that? Yeah. Who can tie a quick hitch? Okay, who can not tie a quick hitch? It's just another way to tie a rope to another rope.
I can't.
Step up to the mic. And if I can get a volunteer, I won't clown you, I won't embarrass you, okay? So stand next to me. And I'm going to have you take the working end of the blue line in your right hand. Right-handed or left-handed?
Right-handed.
What's your favorite song? What's your favorite album?
I don't know.
What's the last movie you saw in the movie theater?
I don't know.
How do you best learn? How can I help you?
Visual
You're a visual learner. That's great.
and doing.
You'll notice that just a few simple questions can break the ice. I want to know a little bit about my demographic. In leadership, I think sometimes fails because sometimes leaders fail to walk into the group and say, how can I help? And I think just those 4 words can be very, very powerful. How can I help you? Well, that's fine, but you get what I'm saying. You're chipping when I'm cutting? Okay,
Yeah.
so dig this. So I'm understanding that, what's your name?
Zach.
Zach. So Zach's a visual learner, all right? But I'm going to just give you verbal instructions, okay? All right, so dig what I'm screaming, all right?
Yep.
Take the working end of the blue line in your right hand.
Yep.
Form a bike dressed right in the climbing line at about chest level and hold it in your handlebar grip.
Is blue the working climbing line?
No, blue is the rigging line.
Gotcha.
So what if he was colorblind? What if I was colorblind? That's the other barrier that I forgot about this morning. If I told you grab the yellow line and you were colorblind, I failed to find out. I didn't know that about you. You know, it's worth knowing. That's all. Just a little. And cumulatively, what if this person was left-handed, dyslexic, colorblind, had an attention deficit as big as mine? Go ahead, Jim.
I worked with a guy for 2 years and I did not know he was colorblind. We were working one day after 2 years of successful work, no disasters. I'm up in the tree and I said, got 3 lines coming out, we're rigging out some pieces. Grab the blue line and hold that line. And he's standing on the ground, very knowledgeable person. He looked at me and he goes, which one's the blue line? And I went, what? And he goes, I'm colorblind. Okay, I'd worked with this guy for 2 years and I never asked him this and did not know that. And so from that day forward, I had to train myself to not talk with color with people about lines because we've got so many different color lines now that I have to say, grab the rope by your right hand or get me that thing out of the green bag. There's 5 bags on the ground. He goes, which one's the green bag? So thank you for bringing up the color thing.
Oh, get ahead of this class one more time, I'll bust your ass. Okay, so dig this. Okay, so you're gonna follow my instructions, okay?
Gotcha.
Form a bike dressed right in your left hand and hold it with your handlebar grip, but don't forget to make the sound, like a motorcycle, right?
Vroom.
Louder. I
Vroom.
can't hear you. Remember, I might have hearing loss from not protecting my hearing. Chippers, chainsaws will destroy your hearing. How many of you agree? There's a reason that protecting your hearing is no personal choice. It isn't. That decision has already been made for you by way of the law. And that law is written to keep us safe and to protect us from hearing loss and the headaches that go with hearing loss, literal headaches. Headaches, problems with your balance. And if I was on Brandon Shields' team, and if I didn't protect my hearing year after year, and I needed to see an ear, nose, and throat doctor because I was having problems with my balance, my inactions might have taken me off of his team for a day. Now I shortchanged this guy. Please protect your hearing. I will not lecture. I just want to encourage each of you to protect your hearing with everything you've got. Okay, so you got a bike dress right formed in your left hand, and it's in your handlebar grip. Right? Correct? Okay, now take the working end of the rigging line and drape it over, going away from you, so that the working end is right at your shins, almost off the ground.
Yep.
Now, take your right, now hold that, clasp it in your left taco grip so that your right hand can go free.
Yep. There.
Now, with your right thumb, index, and middle finger, make like a bird's beak, like this, except it faces you off your wrist.
Copy.
Now, this only works in one way, okay? This is the only way this works. So go like this, all right?
With your right hand.
With your right hand,
gotcha.
with your bird beak facing you, and it only works. This is a very technical move, okay?
There you go.
You have to go beep, 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 beep. Do it! Louder! Okay. Now, I didn't clarify. How long is the bite dressed right? It should be about maybe 9 or 10 inches long and still held in your taco grip with your left hand. Your handlebar grip with your left hand. Now make your bird's beak and come towards you through the bite dressed right, towards your face. Don't forget to make the noise. We're playing.
Is there supposed to be anything in my hand besides the bird beak? Like the
No,
other end
it
of
should
the-
be free.
Okay, that's free.
So here's the tough part.
and
Okay?
it's going through the hole.
No, you're going to route your bird's beak. Now hold your left hand very stationary,
Yep.
and then route your right hand around the falling part, and grab a bite of the working end. And you'll go clockwise around the falling part
Am I
with your
coming through
bird's
the
beak.
top or the bottom?
The bottom. Good
Through the
question. But
Got
you'll
it.
go clockwise 1/2 turn around the falling part and grab a bite of the working end. Withdraw your right hand and pull the bite of the working end through the bite dressed right, bruh.
Yep.
Then hold it up in front of your face vertically so that your left thumb is pointed down, and then come down on top of the hitch and cinch it up. And cinch it in a downward direction.
Say that again.
The rabbit comes out of the hole. No, the only point, you can lose patience. But oftentimes when we're losing patience with another person, we are losing patience with ourselves. And I do that often. I lose patience with myself. I've got a huge attention deficit disorder, and I think it should be simple. We should think that this should be simple. How many of you learned to tie your shoes the first time you ever tried to do it? None of us. It's a very complex task. And if you're right-handed, left-handed, so many factors come into play that a lot of it can seem counterintuitive to us. Agree? Chum-chum?
Chum-chum.
So let's see what we came up with. Actually, that's not bad. It's not quite all the way correct, but you know something? The quality of instruction was not that great, Zach. You know, I think many people are leaving the workplace now. It's not because of money. We could pull down $100,000 a year if we work really hard, all right? But you could pay me $1.50 a year, and if leadership sucked and the culture sucked, you can count me out. I'm going to take my choice and go someplace else. As pro-level climbers like we all are, we can write our own ticket. I can go down the road. More money, less money, it won't matter. Quality of leadership plays a huge role in what we do. Agree?
Yeah.
It is. Okay, so I'll move on. And I'll do it at the same time as you, okay?
Starting over.
Sure, yeah. So I'll hold the working end in my right hand, and I'll go like this, and form a bite dressed right, and I'll hold it in my handlebar grip. Now drape this over almost all the way to the ground.
Yep.
Now shorten up your bite dressed right so it's only about maybe 6 inches off your left hand. That's pretty good. All right, now cool. Now go like this. Now go like this. Okay. Don't forget to make the noise. Louder. Now go like this. So here's what I was wanting you to do. It's very difficult. Route this clockwise around and grab a bite.
Towards the fall or the
Yes, around the fall. This is a fall. If we are actually using our reference points, it's hard. It's very difficult to do it verbally. So
Well,
go like this.
You also have to specify that you're talking about the fall in the ringing line, not the fall in the climb line.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thanks. So around the fall of the rigging line, you're right. And then grab a bite like this. So the left middle finger is going to assist. Let go. Open this hand. Okay. All right. You're going to reach around that element and grab a bite of this.
Okay.
So hand this off like this with your left, so that I'm going to grab a bite and pull it through. That's why I had you only go through with your fingers. What I didn't tell you is that only your fingers should come through the bite dressed right, not your whole arm, because then you have to withdraw your whole arm. Dig? All right. So my bite dressed right, the working end is draped over. I come through. Beep, 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 beep. Then go like this. Here's the magic. Here's the magic right here. Yes. Grab that from. Yes, and then pull it through. Like this. Then hold it like this in front of your fat face. Then comes down. I shouldn't have even said that because it's derogatory. Some people get offended by that, even though he knows I'm joking. Thank goodness. All right, now let it go. Now check it out. It spills in one move. Just grab the working end of your rigging line and separate the two of them. Quick like a bunny. All right, now you want to learn how to do it really fast?
Yeah.
So check this out. What if you could go like this?
Ooh.
I try to tell people don't mess with the kid, but nobody listens. Okay, so here's how you can speed time. Start with the line draped over your right fingertips. Remember the beep, 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 beep? Start with it there, just over your fingertips. And go like this. So if that's all he did for a couple of minutes was just that one move, the knot is halfway tied. If he dips in a little bit lower, start it at your waist. Even bend your knees down like this. Not like this, like this. Go like this. And then the right elbow comes up. So spill it, so bring it up. Now start back to the starting position. We're gonna call this the starting position. It presumes that the working end of the rigging line that I'm gonna send up to you is going away from you or outboard. Just this. Is that working well? Just come up and the right elbow comes up simultaneously. So go like this. More line. More line over the edge. Over your fingertips. Yeah, go like this, not like this. Go like this. Dip in lower. Go like this. Elbow up.
Ooh, yeah.
Immediately into this position. Whip it around. Grab a bite of the working end. And with a little bit of practice, you'll nail this down. But it's a super important skill. It's best with lines of identical diameter. 3/4 inch bull rope is not going to work very well with a quick hitch, okay? They need to know those limitations. So you got it nailed? Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, wise ass, let's race.
So what's the name of this knot?
It's called a quick hitch. And it's one of many ways of tying one rope to another. There's a plethora of ways of doing it, but knots are artistic expression, are they not? Sure, you want a whole bunch of knots in your arsenal, do you not? Do you not? Yeah. Dan Kraus? All right, so go like this. So set it down. All right, so. No, I'm not, man. You don't know that. I might club. Or some enterprising individual might rip the working end of the rigging line out of my hand and say, "Ha! Kristian Michael Schultz, you thought you were funny, didn't you?" Okay. Ready, go. You're doing it, yes.
Yeah. Woo!
Yeah, so just your fingers come through. So let me ask you a question. Are you in a place where you can take some suggestions? Yeah. Are you in a place where you're cool with that? Okay. So go ahead and spill it by separating all the way. All right. Drape a little more line over your hand. Yeah. So that it goes almost to your shins, almost to the deck. And then dip in low like this. Light, elegant moves. Elbow up. Immediately into this position. Whip it around.
Boom.
And then come from the top down like this to set it a little bit better. Now the reason this is valuable and the reason I would want to learn to do this in a blurred manner is because I would spend less time in someone's drop zone. I can come in, perform that task in GTFO. And that means a lot to me because a lot of times I don't know people. They're using chainsaws with no lanyard. You know, if you drop a chainsaw in someone's face, they're going for reconstructive surgery. Sorry, not sorry. That's the name of that game. Moving a carabiner water bottle around on your rack, moving it from place to place, there's a dropping hazard. There's a reason that in these competitions we have to warn of loose hardware, do we not? Yes. All right, cool. So did this have some value to you?
Absolutely.
What did you like about it?
Well, it's a pretty quick way to tie it, you know, to get two ropes together. You know.
What did you not like about it? Is there any way I can improve my delivery?
No, I mean, once we slowed down, it worked out good.
Okay, so I get that a lot. I could slow it down. I get that. Thanks so much. Can I give you something?
Yeah.
All right. So again, this wasn't about not tying, about how we communicate. A lot of times we as teachers or instructors, if we're trying to teach this body of information, sometimes we fail to say, you know, how can I help you? Are you in a place? How many of you have had really good suggestions for someone that just finished up a tree and you just walked up and said, "Man, I saw you struggling up there, man, it was something else." And he's sweating bullets and he's panting and stuff, and you're going, you know, if you would have just turned around, your life would have been so much easier. I don't know what you were thinking up there. Do you suppose they're going to be receptive to that? So there's a lot to be said for giving somebody a little bit of space, isn't there? You can also ask, is now a good time? Because sometimes it's not. Sometimes it just is not a good time. Okay, one more term for line handling. We're going to call these turns. Can anyone tie a circus bowline? Can anyone not tie a circus bowline? You cannot tie one?
No idea.
Okay, and its lowest common denominator of circus bowline is a midline fixed loop. Everybody say midline fixed loop.
Midline fixed loop.
We agree that if I form a loop or a loop dressed right and I reach my bird beak up or my 3 fingers up through and I grab a bite of the stand and pull it through, it forms a what? It is. So in this case, because I have a reference point, it's a standing slip knot. If I pull a bite of the fall, it is a what? Okay, if you guys are so smart. Standing slip knot or falling slip knot?
On the ground.
Say again.
Neutral.
Not on the deck.
It's on the deck. So where's the is it a standing slip knot or a falling slip
You
knot?
still pulled the fall.
Technically speaking, it's neither because I don't have a stand or fall reference point. So points of reference, that's all these terms are points of reference. Where's the top? Where's the top? Where's the bottom? Where's the left? Where's the right? Where is behind? Where is beneath? Where is the front? Those are 7 or 8 terms right there that can really make people lose perspective, you know? Sometimes knots don't have a left, right, top, bottom, north, south. There's a reason north is north, south is south, east is east, west is west. There's no R in July. You get where I'm going with it? Our points of reference, these are points of reference that are static that we all agree on. When it comes to knot tying, it's a liquid, so we lose a lot of our points of reference, and you can see how stress levels come up. And it's no secret that when our emotions go up, our intelligence goes. It does. We become heated, we're arguing, we're toe to toe. I'm in your personal space, I'm gesturing you with my facials start to tense up, I'm loading my face, I'm good and pissed, and you're going toe to toe, and we're in combat now, and we are getting nothing done. We're not making big sticks into little sticks, we're just arguing. We're just blowing off steam, we're just arguing. And then someone takes a blow. Someone takes a shot at somebody. And someone has an eye out. And that you live with that for the rest of your life, and your career can be scarred. I mean, very few of us have ever resulted to physical altercations on a job site or something like that, because we know the implications are serious. You can find yourself blacklisted in this industry very quickly through unsafe work practices or being hot-tempered. This guy's got a super high skill set. He's got a CDL, he's got a CTF, he's all kind of things. None of it means anything if he's explosive, and nobody can work with this person. You dig? So, standing slip knot and falling slip knot are relative terms. If anybody wants to learn a circus bowline in about 60 seconds, step up to the mic. Okay, grab a bite of line and hold it draped over your left hand. Right hand or left handed? Okay, it won't matter. Drape the line over your left hand like this. That's not your left hand. Yeah, so dig this. If I point my fingers off to my right, I've got this leg and an inboard or an outboard leg, except you don't have to use those terms. What's your name? Lon. Oh, you're Lon from yesterday. Okay, all right. Thank you. So grab the one on the outside several inches below your left hand and take a couple of turns like this over your left hand. We're going to call this clockwise. Just for the sake of reference, it's just what? Perspective. Just perspective. Everybody go like this. Then go like this. It's just perspective, isn't it? So drape those over your left hand and let go with your right. Okay, now go like this and slip your right hand underneath there so that the line is just out onto your fingertips, Lon, so that you're in opposing taco grips with your thumbnails touching each other. Chum-chum?
Chum-chum.
Eyeballs. Okay, now take the turn on the left and put it underneath to the middle. Now take the turn on the right and put it underneath into the middle. Now take the turn on the left and put it underneath to the middle and push it up with your middle finger. I do a lot with my middle finger. You know what poor instruction gets from me? My middle finger. So grab this like this with your right hand and hold it up in front. Now grab these, so we'll marry these. First we get married, then we get separated. And dress it up. It forms a midline fixed loop. Very similar in function to an alpine butterfly. It's a midline fixed loop. Some people consider a circus bowline safer because no matter how much tension I put into it, I should be able to spill it by hand. Remember, we don't take knots out. What do? We spill them because line is a what? My man! So give it a good hard cinch, and you should be able to spill it by hand. All right, now spill it, and we're going to go back over it. Come to the starting position. So that assumes that the line is draped over, and your fingers are going to be facing to your right. Grab the leg on the outside, make 2 turns. Reference your opposing taco grips. Thumbs across from one another, underneath to the middle, underneath to the middle, underneath to the middle. Hold it up in front of your face. First we get married, then we get separated. Bland. No, it doesn't. You decide how big the tool is, because I made a tool out of this rope, right? That's really, in its lowest common denominator, I made a midline fixed loop. How long it is or how big the finished product is going to be determined by how big the turns are. If I make big turns, I'll get a big loop. Bigger turns, right? Underneath to the middle, underneath to the middle. Kind of like, does that make you think of anything when you...
Braiding.
Who said it? Did someone say braiding?
Yeah.
It's very similar to braiding hair.
You got
So
it.
this one's kind of big. And if you didn't want it that big, simply make it smaller. Make the turns a little bit
I
smaller.
didn't even know it's not
Underneath to the
existed.
middle, underneath to the middle, underneath to the middle. Nice. And you get to customize it. If you want a big one, make a big one. If you want a small one, make a small one. You dig? Cool. Can I give you a sound? All right, cool. You go along. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I'm going to move on with a couple more things and get away from line a little
Circus
bit.
bowling approved life support?
Yes, good question. The question was, is a circus bowline approved for life support? Yes, it is. And it's widely recognized by the industry. Not everybody knows it because we favor our what? Or mariposa. Who calls it mariposa? Yeah.
And Juan Lopez.
Juan Lopez?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, working on bitter end, loop, bite, turns, or reps. Neither term is incorrect. The stand and the fall. They're just points of reference. They can help clear up communication gaps or potential gaps, okay? We're going to talk about something kind of serious. In conflict with another person in our day-to-day lives with our loved ones, stuff. These are not easy. It can become really uncomfortable. If you avoid these 5 things, it may really, really help you. It may really help clear up communication gaps, and it can also help reduce the length of our conflicts. We all run into conflicts. Show me one person here that hasn't left in tears over conflict with another person. And I'll show you a robot. Okay, the first one, sarcasm. Our use of sarcasm, I'm very generous with sarcasm, and it's something I continually work on reducing because it's not cool. When I lighten up with somebody and I'm sure that they're going to be receptive, then I think it's fair game. But I don't know that at the onset, do I, Carissa? I don't. They say that sarcasm is the single most destructive form of communication. Please give that some thought. Your previous relationships, your loved ones, working relationships. Nah, man, I got this over here. It's cool. You just go ahead and have your smoke over there. I'll be over here working, huh? You know, it's really destructive, you know, and we use it as a weapon sometimes. That's not cool. Guilty. You know, I don't say this because if anybody's looking in this direction for perfection, you're looking in the wrong direction, bro. Chum? Okay. The next one, sarcasm. So we want to avoid sarcasm. Can we commit to agree to just become a little more aware of our sarcasm? Show of hands. Just be aware. The next one, swearing. When we swear in conflict, those are called, some people call them verbal pauses. And in public speaking, when we swear, if you are speaking before an audience full of Steve Jobs level executives, every time you swear, or say or and those are called verbal pauses. These are people that can be making thousands of dollars rather than sitting in front of you while you stutter your way through a delivery. Us and verbal pauses like that are a normal, understandable thing. In public speaking, we work hard to avoid them. In public speaking, if I'm going to come up on an or a da or a if I don't know, what I'll do is just stop what I'm doing and I'll scan the audience. If I look everybody in the eyes, somebody's going to save my life. The stand, Kristian, back to the knot. Oh, the knot tying. Okay, I remember now. And they don't want to see you flop. Your audience doesn't want to see you tank. All right, so again, in public speaking, I try to avoid us and does, and I try to avoid swearing because those are verbal pauses. At the end of it, if I've sworn, if I can't form a sentence without swearing, there are people in the audience, they want their money back. I want my 5 minutes back, brah. So, in conflicts, we want to avoid swearing also because it's unhelpful. They're unhelpful verbal pauses. Yes, it's rewarding to swear sometimes. And I don't think it's always inappropriate. But if I'm in conflict, if I want to reduce the amount of time I'm in conflict with someone, I want to avoid swearing. And I want to, you know, then there comes the next one. The next one. Ready? You guys are so patient. Just kidding. Abusive body language. That's another whopper. Abusive body language. It does not take much. Some demographics are very, very sensitive to our body language, aren't they? You know, if I start stepping towards you in an aggressive manner and I'm laying down the knife hand on you, you know, it might be for the, even if it was for the sake of betterment, even if it was because I had an offering or a teaching that was something critical, it can be received very negatively, you know? So knife hand, you know, it might be like this, or it might be like this. Right up under your chin like in boot camp or something like that. In that situation, you know, the drill sergeant might be laying down a discipline or something like that. How many of you are ex-military? How many of you are ex-military? There's one other ex-military person here. So you probably remember my hand, don't you?
Comes out with the kids, but I try to keep it like, works at home.
Pointing our finger is another thing. If you had a point that you wanted to make, I would avoid going like this and pointing at him. He makes a valid point over there, all right? Because once I point with my finger, all communication is irreversible. I can never take that back. Everybody repeat that after me. All communication is irreversible.
All communication is irreversible.
It is. Once I point my finger in somebody's face, I can't ever get that back. So think about the times in our lives when we communicated with our body language, our fingers, the bossy finger, the knife hand, the glare, the intimidation, the, you know, how I can't get that back. It's irreversible. So I want to be careful of my destructive body language, all right? Again, I'm not trying to lay down the law or tell people how to communicate with other people. This is not to tell you how. Just want to offer some perspectives. And if you really want to abbreviate the time that you are in conflict with another person, these things may help you. Quick recap. I'll avoid sarcasm. I'll avoid swearing. I'll avoid abusive body language. Slamming and stomping around the house. I don't know how many times I've told you that, Kristian. Blam! We slam the door. We stomp across the floor. We start shuffling dishes in the shelves and stuff. And it makes a big rewarding noise. And it's a total power trip. It is. And in anger management classes, they'll teach you very clearly that when you slam the door and stomp across the floor, you're not really slamming the door and stomping across the floor. You're slamming the other person and you're stomping on the other person because that is the psychological impact that it has on another person. And again, it's irreversible. You can't get it back. Once you stomp across the floor, you're not going to unstomp the floor. It's very difficult to make up for something like that. So, can we agree to just be aware of when we stomp and slam, throw our climbing gear down? Even with ourselves, it can alarm other people. Some of the people, how many of you have ever encountered somebody out in the field that they're harder on themselves than anybody else? Sometimes to the extent where they're throwing their climbing gear down, they might drive aggressively, when they leave a site like that. And it becomes a drag to be around. It really does. Oh, the granddaddy of them all. Walking out. Walking away from somebody. Walking out in order to make the other person feel walked out on deliberately. Not to be confused with taking some space for yourself, saying, listen, I'm out for a few. They're very different. There's a slippery slope there, isn't there? You know, but when you walk out on somebody and it's deliberate, I think it's destructive. And this is what I'm getting from like anger management. I've never needed anger management, just to clarify. It's been, you know, pretty light duty. Have I run into serious conflicts? Yes, I have. And we all have. And sometimes I reduce myself to swearing in, you know, negative body language. It's almost never. But it's only through life has given me a little bit more awareness of those things. And people have said, Kristian, you know, I think you would win if you just gained some composure. When you lost composure, you lost the argument, and technically you were correct. So it is a cowboy bowling, but you jumping up and down and swearing and throwing it down on deck doesn't send your message at all. You abandoned them also when you walked out, and you did it deliberately. And your climbing sucks. So it gave me an opportunity to revisit that. You guys want to know the story behind your climbing sucks? Yeah. I worked for this guy named Jim Rudolph in Indiana. Anybody from Indiana? Anybody know where Arbor Care of the Ozark Arbor Care is in South Bend? So dig this. I went to work for him early in my career, and I thought I had all the answers. I never wore a helmet because it was going to mess up my beautiful mullet. I wear a pair of Ray-Bans. I had always been good about protecting my hearing, but I was a very dangerous climber, and I didn't know. I thought the industry embraced a culture of risk. So I would jump from one tree to another with no fall protection on. One hand, my chainsaw on a day, reaching over and all this kind of stuff. And I didn't understand why he was nervous. After all, I was there. Everybody could just relax. But eventually he squared off with me and he said, I'm letting you go. And I said, why? I put more brush on the ground. You can't let me go. I'm your only CDL. And he said, I don't care. I'm cutting my losses. Because you're so dangerous and so careless. No one can talk to you. No one can coach you. No one can reach you. I can't offer you simple suggestions. The other day I said, if you would just turn 90 degrees to your left, your life would be easier. And you were like, nah, you might as well start turning around like this. Because you didn't want to hear it from anybody else. And I'm letting you go. And he did. And he said, and you know what else? Your climbing sucks. Because no one can talk to you. You can move around a tree okay, but overall, your climbing sucks, bro. So that night, I went home and I started writing the words, your climbing sucks, on a piece of paper. And the phone rang and it was him. And he said, here's what day it is. This isn't even a conversation. If you can come back to my company tomorrow and obey all of my safety directives, all of them without lapse, without argument, you may have your job back. But if you can't, I'm not going to say a word. I'm going to tape your last paycheck to your car. When you go back to your car at the end of the day, you will know that that is the end of us. I've got to go. I've got bids to do right now. And he hung up, and that was it. And I went back to work the next day, and I did really that's when I first started taking an interest in safety. And I do training at his company 2 times a year now for the win. So I love sharing that story. I owe a lot to Jim Rudolph for that very statement. You know, and that's why you'll see it written on my gear, and that's why I tell people that your climbing sucks. It's actually a compliment of the highest order, but if somebody doesn't take it that way, I want to respect that. Sometime?
Sure.
When we communicate, say again?
I said I'm so looking forward to that.
All right. Oh, yeah, me too. When we communicate with greater respect, I think we get better results. We do. And when people with us feel valued, we get better performance out of them, and they feel better about themselves. Remember, they can go somewhere else any day of the week. Oftentimes people are leaving. They're not leaving for more money. They're leaving for a better quality of leadership. If I've got to be 8 to 10 hours away from my loved ones, I want to be with more loved ones. How about you guys? Yeah! I'll wrap this up with a couple questions. What is down talk? Yes, anytime you talk down to another person, that is down talk. And I just want to bring a higher level of awareness to myself when I do that, for my own sake and for others, for the receiver. Sham? What is upspeak?
Oh.
Upspeak, yeah, this is the single most annoying thing. Upspeak is like when we end our sentences going in an upward trajectory. You know what I'm saying? Like my lawyer is going to be in touch with you, Kristian, because of the way you did this and the way you did that. That's upspeak. People find it incredibly annoying. We hear it on the radio in announcements all the time. And it's more a source of annoyance rather than, but when we start doing it, you know what I'm saying? Okay, the rabbit comes out of the hole and goes around the tree. We've done this before. I showed you this a million times. That's downspeak, but it's upspeak used as downspeak. Shum. It's highly disrespectful. My commitment to you is I will never do that to you. And I'll appreciate you never do that to me, so we have a deal. And that's for life. We have a lifetime arrangement just like that. It's as simple as that, just through clarity. How can I make other people feel good? Compliment them. How do we compliment them? Sure, it's got to be genuine. There's very few checkpoints to that being genuine. When we start complimenting people on a bunch of stuff they didn't earn, they know, they smell it out, and it's a turnoff. But we can. How do there's another great way to make people feel good, and it doesn't cost any money, and you don't have to say a thing. All you got to do is go like this. That's all. Now, I do want to point out one difference. If somebody walks in the room and you're already smiling, it's very different than if they walk in the room, you look them in the eyes and go. It has a very different. Doesn't it have a different impact on you?
Yeah.
So when a child walks in the room, if you look in them in the eyes and then smile, it sends a very different message to them, and that feels good. People love three things. They love to be smiled at. They love to laugh. They love to hear their names, and they love to be told when they're right. They do. We love that stuff. We love being told, you're right, or I agree with you. Yes. When we do so, it's helpful if we turn and face the person that we're speaking to and maybe smile and give welcoming body language and just be tender with them. It doesn't mean it's nothing like this. It's nothing emasculine at all. We can just be kind to one another. There's a lot to be said for that. How many of you could use some kindness? That's why I came here, because I knew I'd be with every one of you. And you, and you, and you, and you, and you. I mean, you, and you, and you. Avoiding the finger pointing thing, right? I can't thank you guys enough for an hour and a half of your time today. And the knot tying stuff. These things fulfill my life, and hopefully this has been good for you. Or if nothing else, we added what?
Perspective.
I'm Kristian Michael Schultz. I'm a trainer in the tree care industry for Right Tree Service right now. I'm full-time training. So all I do is go around the entire country, Canada, and hopefully Puerto Rico next. And I just train field personnel. And sometimes I start with sheep then, because it's a great place to start. And it's a fundamental to critical task to know how to tie one rope to another in a bunch of different ways. And if we make it fun, if we make the training fun, and if we make it come to life, I can guarantee you the results will be significantly different. Thank you. We're adjourned. Okay?